Greg here has a tractor. He's done 2 plows already.
Everybody needs to be
Hey,
muted.
Bob.
Did you mute everybody, John?
Well,
Or
yeah,
are you-
because if I do that, I'm going to end up muting us too.
Oh,
So it's gonna take a minute.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, I think we're good.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the February 2nd Caroline Town Board agenda meeting and also public hearing on a local law to expand planning board membership to 7 persons. The meeting, as you are well aware, since you're doing it, is by Zoom teleconference, and we are recording it as we usually do, and we'll post it to the website. So, and just to summarize tonight's meeting, we're going to start with the public hearing, and then we'll move on to the agenda meeting and start that meeting with opportunity for privilege of the floor. So with no further ado, I will open the public hearing on the local law to expand the membership of the Town of Caroline Planning Board to 7 persons. And so anyone wishing to speak about that may do so now. And a good way to do that is raising your blue Zoom hand, which should be a button down at the bottom of your participants window.
I am not seeing any hands, Mark.
All right. Okay, thank you. So not hearing or not seeing anyone wishing to speak at the public hearing on the amendment to local law amending planning board size to 7 persons, I will now close the public hearing. Okay, so with that, I will offer opportunity for privilege of the floor. If anybody wanting to address the town board, please raise your blue Zoom hand to let us know. And I'm also told that, let's see, Don Barber has his blue Zoom hand up. So.
Yep, so far just Don.
Okay.
You can't hear me, I don't believe. Or
Um,
see me.
We can hear you, but
Okay. I can't figure this hand out, so I'd like to talk after that.
okay, gotcha. Sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so are we hearing from Don Barber right now?
Yeah, we'll hear from Don first.
Okay, go ahead, Don.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Nice snowy day. How's your back doing with it after the shoveling? All good. Well, I got 1 thumbs up. Cal didn't raise his hand. I does too. Good.
My back's too sore.
Yes. Can't raise his hand. So I wanted to just speak about a couple things. One is the zoning commission that's being talked about. I would encourage the town board to spend the time to get a real diverse population on that zoning commission. The zoning has been an issue that's been raised its head many times over the last several decades, so that people are well aware of it. And I would encourage the board to spend the time to really get a good cross section of the community on the zoning commission. And the other point I wanted to bring forward to the board is when the committee, the task force that worked on economic development and land use. And first I want to commend them for just a yeoman's amount of work that they did on a short period of time. And one of the things that they talked about was the amendment to the site plan review local law. And in it, they suggest that it be tied to zoning. I'd like to suggest to the town board that the because we have a moratorium on, that will most likely run out before zoning is adopted. And I would recommend that you spend time maybe appointing a special committee or whatever venue you'd like to work on that, with the recommendation that was made by the special committee, and get that in front of the board and the public ahead of the termination of the current moratorium. There's a lot of good work there, and I don't think there's a ton that needs to be done, but nonetheless, it should be vetted, and somebody should spend some good time on it, maybe get community input, and then go for the public hearing and try to get that done well in advance of the moratorium ending. And then of course, it shouldn't detract from the effort that's being done by the zoning commission. I don't think it will. I think it can be done in tandem. So that's my comment, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Don.
Yep, thanks, Don. All right, anyone else wishing to address the board?
Yep, we have somebody as iPhone who spoke a minute ago and would like to speak.
Oh, okay. Can you unmute them or request it?
Yeah, I am. Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
All
Can
right.
you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. This is Bruce Murray.
Oh, hi, Bruce.
Hey,
I forgot your iPhone.
Okay. I'm on an iPhone. Thank you for doing this. Anyway, first thing, I think you probably know the town board that if you're going to appoint more people to the planning board, because I was on the planning board once, there is a clause in the planning board law that states something about if you're appointed for the number of the years equal to the number of people on the planning board. So I don't know if that would change the amount of years of the people who are serving now or just the people who you appoint. But I just thought you might want to look at that law just to bring that, because somebody might not want to be signed up for 7 years. just thought I'd say that. But
Yeah.
then, and the other thing was, I was wondering about just exactly what Don was stating, was that, get a good cross section of people to be on the zoning commission. And I wasn't sure how you were going to pick the zoning commission. And the other thing was, I doubt, like he was saying, that you could ever get it done in the amount of time, like you're probably going to have to get an extension of the moratorium or something similar. Because I had talked to the town lawyer a couple weeks back on that, and he said that he had advised the board that it probably never could be done in that amount of time. So I wasn't quite sure what the board was planning on doing, but I just thought I would say that you really do need a cross section of people to be on that zoning commission. And that's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Bruce. I'll just offer that I did think about the terms, and my thinking was to basically not continue that. We had 3 people join the planning board recently. So next week, I'm going to offer a resolution to extend their term. So I was thinking about how to do that. So I think that we should keep it to just assigning people 5-year terms. And it could be a point of discussion, but as you know, planning board members can resign at any time. And so it's not really, forcing them into a position that they can't get out of. So that was my thinking about that, is just to make it 5-year terms for anybody joining the board. And as far as the moratorium and working on zoning. So yeah, that was actually articulated in the language of the moratorium. And I don't have it before me now, but it did explicitly say that a provision that, that if if needed, the moratorium would be extended or could be extended to accommodate more, to accommodate completion of a zoning regulation. So there is that possibility, and there's a we don't want to have the moratorium in place any longer than we need to, but we also want to provide the town the measures it needs, if it needs them, to do the work they need to implement the zoning regulations if we decide to do that. So, Tim.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in response to Don's suggestion that I think that once we get the zoning commission established and things are going, we'll certainly want to look at the site plan review law that was revised by the task force, and with the aim of getting that ideally settled before the expiration of the moratorium. And then if ideally it should be wrapped into the zoning law, but that can still be done. But that's something that, Don, that at least I have my eye on, and I think I've mentioned that to you in passing. But thank you.
Great, thanks, Tim. Okay, any other comments from board members, or and if not,
Can I, one other thing, Mark, just in relationship to the length of term in the planning board law, that's something that probably we should amend before we pass the law, right?
Yeah, we should probably look at that tonight. So
if we need to do that, then maybe we're going to have another public hearing next week to finally pass it.
Good point. If we consider it, I don't know if that's considered a substantive change or not. Let's look at the language of the law later in the meeting and deliberate on that. And I would suggest we keep this. Well, yeah. So okay, that sounds good.
It was a helpful suggestion to look at it.
Yeah, I think so too. Great. Okay. One more call for privilege of the floor, since there are quite a few people on the meeting. Great. Okay. Seeing none, I will move on and call for additions or deletions from the agenda. I have one addition, which is to offer 2020 final budget transfers, which I sent earlier. So we'll add that in. Great. Okay. So with no further ado, we'll move on to our interviews for someone to fill the seat vacated by Irene Weiser. And so I let the applicants know that because I needed some way to figure out how to do this, that I would call on them in the order in which we received their applications. So first up will be Catherine Goldberg Forrest. So I'll ask her, or somebody should ask her to unmute. Oh, there she is. Okay, oh, great.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah. Yep. Hi, Catherine.
Hey.
Great. Thanks for joining us tonight, and welcome. I guess I will just open the discussion by asking you to tell us why you're interested in serving on the town board.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So I have been interested in how things go in terms of our town's governance, I guess probably since, when was the noise ordinance? 2007? I guess that dates me. That was kind of my first awareness, to be honest, of what goes on. And I found it really pretty fascinating. And I haven't that has continued. So I haven't really stopped being interested in just the process, and I have a lot of curiosity about how things go. I suppose my most recent involvement that was in any official capacity started with me being on the planning board. So I think someone can remind me when I started that. How long has that been? 2 years? And so I was involved in the most recent iterations of the solicitation of community input for the comprehensive plan, and was very involved in that. And so I would say, I guess my interest in being more involved has just kind of grown in this natural progression from being a interested resident to a more interested resident to a more involved volunteer resident. And so it feels a little bit like just a natural progression, and there's, this opportunity, I guess, has presented itself. And I feel called to do it, to be honest. I mean, I feel a bit like the timing is interesting with the comprehensive plan kind of making its final delivery and journey to you as a board. I would like to accompany it personally. It does feel just really important, and something that really is going to continue to be important. And the more and more involved I've become, and the more and more aware of issues I have, become aware, it's abundantly clear that Caroline is, because it's such an amazing place to live, and because we all want to be here so badly, other people also want to be here really badly. And so I find that really kind of fascinating. I guess I would sum up my interest in all of this. Broadly, it all falls under kind of the intersection between rural land stewardship and local governance, and how that works. And I think that Caroline is unique in the sense that we agree on many, many, many things, and yet there's often disagreement about how to get those things done. And I kind of thrive in that muddiness. So yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, I have a question, and thank you for putting yourself forward. I appreciate it. So with what you've observed in, since I think you said 2007, what do you feel are the most critical issues facing our town at this moment in time?
Such a great question. I mean, broadly, growth, right? I feel like everything can fall under growth. I love that people love Caroline, and I love that people want to come to Caroline. I am a person who has come to Caroline, we all did at some point. None of us were, that I know of on this call, were born in the town of Caroline, right? And so I think that growth and the idea that people want to come here and live and work and play here is the biggest issue facing us. And how do we navigate that so that it's consistent with the values of the town? I guess that's the broad answer. And then the actions and the policies that I would say are my priorities and what I think is most important to the town, to answer your question, would be everything that goes into that. So land use regulation or not. How do we have people feel welcome from kind of all identities? We're this kind of bubble in a small rural area with very close proximity to university resources, and that kind of environment is very different, right, in some ways from surrounding communities. And how do we kind of bridge all of that and have everyone feel like they belong here? Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
Got to unmute Tim.
Sorry about that. Catherine, can I ask, you probably have, but have you read the task force report?
Yes, more than once.
And can you just tell us a little bit about your impressions of it, or
Yeah,
where it or might go?
for sure. So first, I would say that I'm really grateful for everyone who was did that work and was able to participate. I regret that I personally was not because of responsibilities and COVID and students and things. So I very personally want to extend gratitude for the work that was done, that I was not able to do, even though I was very strongly advocating for something along the lines of what the task force ended up doing, right? So I think for one, I'm amazed, that about all the work that was done and what was able to get accomplished during the pandemic and the whole thing. It's just been amazing. The task force, the document that was presented, I think is also impressive in the sense that it really goes hand in hand with the comprehensive plan, like just so well. I think that the charge of that document was really to identify like tools and strategies that would help implement the goals and actions that were put forth in the comprehensive plan, right? And it did that. I mean, it did that really kind of amazingly well. So I guess I think my overall impression is that it needed to be done. I'm glad it was done, and we now have this, and we have to really be intentional about what we do with it. And I guess my second observation, which maybe goes along with the comprehensive plan as well, is just that I don't know why I feel the need to clarify this, but I do, so I will, that it's not like a partisan document, right? Like there's nothing in that task force document, as well as there's nothing in the comprehensive plan that is kind of political. The comprehensive plan was born from community, solicitation of community input. And then that is delivered to the board. And the same really for the task force under the kind of auspices of the community of the comprehensive plan. So I guess I'm impressed in that way that although there are issues that are going to continue to be debated as debated, I think it's just important to come back to the fundamentals, which is that this is working towards a goal that is common among everyone in the town, despite the fact that Don already tonight has alluded to like zoning being a thing that's going to trigger some emotional responses. And I think that that's true. I also think that that is up to the board to really try to do a good job of ushering that concept and that word even into community conversation about like, what is zoning really? Like I'm not for zoning any more than I'm for anything else. I am for whatever tools and strategies are going to be able to move the town in the direction that we want it to go. If that could happen with like no regulation and a handshake and a smile, like I'm all for it. I've said that before and I'll continue to say it. It would be great if that's all we needed, but unfortunately, I don't think that's realistic. And so I'm not going to pretend that that's enough.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Since there's a pause, I'll ask just one more question. One of the challenges that the board faces annually is confronting and finessing the annual budget. And I'm just wondering if, I believe actually that I remember you attending some budget sessions this fall, and I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts about the challenges that we face and how to adapt to them.
Yikes. Well, I'm very aware of needing to stay in my lane. So I will say that this is not an area of expertise of mine in terms of, the fiscal responsibility of local governance. But I will say that it is certainly apparent to me that it's an essential part of everything. And so it's fine to have a lofty idea and we want to get such and such done, but how are we really going to accomplish that within the budgetary kind of restrictions, right? I also would say, I guess, philosophically that we value what we pay for. And so we need to really be having the budgetary allotments and line items match what our values are. And the quickest way in any organization, whether it's a town, a academic institution, a nonprofit, to figure out like, what do you value is to really look at your budget.
Thanks.
But I don't know any more than that, to be totally honest with you.
Great. How would you, you've, expressed well, I guess, your perspective, I guess, what is, what do you, what do you treasure most about Caroline?
What do I treasure most about Caroline? I was contemplating that today as we were digging our animals out from their areas of residence. I mean, those of you who know me know, and those of you who don't will now know that I live here with horses and sheep and poultry and, guardian dogs who take care of everybody. And that is what I value. So my life here and my ability to have a life that involves beautiful views and interaction with neighbors and, living and sharing a life with my animals, like that's what I value. So I can do that here. I'm glad. I want other people to be able to do that here. And I want to continue to be able to do it. I don't want that to be something that is only reserved for people who can, afford large tracts of expensive land, right? That's not, to me, that's not what rural character and preservation is really about. So I guess I value, like I said before, right? We are in this very unique geographic location in terms of proximity to things that many rural areas just don't have. And I think recognizing that as both the benefits and burdens of that. And so I want to preserve and protect like the benefits and try to really mitigate the burdens for people. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Catherine? Great. Okay. Thanks, Catherine. Thanks very much.
Thank you,
joining.
guys.
Okay.
Thanks, Catherine.
Yeah. Okay. Next up is Kathy Mix. Is that you, Kathy? Is Kathy there?
Kathy, it looks like I'm seeing that your internet is still trying to connect to the audio. Which is interesting. I can see you but not hear you, which is usually the other way around.
I hear a rushing noise.
Oh, that's my heat. Sorry.
Gotta have some heat.
Kathy, you
True.
might try adjusting your volume on if you have a laptop or on your keypad. Sometimes that happens to me, and then the connection will kick in. Bummer.
Yeah.
Maybe Kathy, you should try reconnecting, like quit the meeting and then rejoin the meeting. Maybe that didn't work.
The other option would be to call in for the audio.
Let's try this first, though.
Yeah. She's given it a try, so
Bummer.
it is.
Yeah, John. This
Yeah.
is Bruce Murray.
Yeah, hey,
I
Bruce.
can never get the audio on my computer, so I always have to call in and use the video because I can never get it on it. So she might have to use the phone.
Yeah.
Can you hear me through the phone?
You
Yes.
hear
Yes.
you, Kathy.
Can you hear me?
We
Yeah.
can.
Yep.
That's great.
Yay. Well, I guess I don't have audio, but I have phone, so we'll try that. Welcome to broadband in the town of Caroline.
That's right.
You got it.
Oh yeah.
Great.
So how you guys doing tonight? Yeah, all unburied from the snow?
Unburied being a relative term.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us, Kathy. So I'll start the questions off with just to have you tell us why you're interested in serving on the town board.
Well, as you know, I've been a volunteer within the town for many years, actually for over 30 now. And I have crossed paths with town government on numerous occasions by serving in many capacities throughout the years. And I finally found space in my life now that I'm not running on an ambulance and chasing accidents and so on and so forth, that I have a little bit more time in my life, and thought that I would try to give back in a different way, and trying to be a voice for my fellow townspeople on the board, and an extra set of ears.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, Kathy, so thank you for stepping up for this. And so my question is the same one I asked Catherine, which is, what do you think of the critical issues facing our town right now? And I'll mute so we don't have the wave of heat.
Sure. So I think Catherine kind of hit the nail on the head by saying that, you know, the topics of discussion, I think, that are going to be coming up soon are going to be zoning. I know we've brought up zoning in the past, and I know the comprehensive plan is a marvelous piece of work that they've worked on, and I think the goals that are listed in there are great. But as soon as you say zoning, I know there's going to be lots of opposition against that. So I can see that coming. I think keeping land open and keeping the rural character of Caroline is something that I know goes from Speedsville to Brooktondale to here in Caroline to Slaterville. I think everybody is like-minded that way. But we have to come up with some strategies to be able to make it work and to benefit not just the townspeople, but the people who are visiting and take such great, they just suck it all in. I mean, I live on 79. I see the people who stop and look at Round Top in the fall and, you know, take pictures of that gorgeous foliage over there. With the open farmland that we have down in front of it, and you know, people stop and talk to us all the time, and to be able to keep that going, I think is important. And I think that is probably going to be another issue, but topic of discussion, let's say. And of course, always budget. Everybody's always concerned about money. So
That's true.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kathy, this is Tim. I'm wondering if
Tim.
you've had a chance to read the task force report.
I have not. I have read the comprehensive plan, but not the task force
Okay.
document.
I was interested in your thoughts about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have not.
No
As
problem.
I said, I've
No
been
problem.
kind of out of the loop in the last year or so. So I'll be upfront and honest.
And maybe I'll just, while I have the floor, maybe I'll just ask you the same question that I asked Catherine regarding your sense of budgetary challenges.
It's always going to be trying to keep it affordable for every, fair and equitable for everybody in the town. We are dwindling on some of the farming practices that we've had in the past. We have to come up with new and creative ways to do that. But we also too have been, I don't want to say losing, we're gaining open land with state land becoming more prevalent, and you know, Finger Lakes Land Trust taking over, and I'm guilty. I sold some to the Finger Lakes Land Trust, but that's going to take money away from the tax basis too. So we have to come up with some creative ways to be able to keep taxes low, but be able to operate the business of the town and the goals and you know, moving forward and working with the goals that we're trying to accomplish.
Thanks. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? John?
Yeah, I want to circle back to the comprehensive plan. You mentioned that you have had an opportunity to read it, and I just want to get your impressions.
I think there's some very valuable and poignant information that's in there that I haven't seen before. I think they did a really great job with pulling it all together. The maps in there are absolutely stupendous and great. I think the goals that they've set forth are worthy. I'm not sure how we're going to get there in the time frame that they're looking at, but I'm hopeful, and you know, maybe we can put some committees together to put some task force together and get things rolling that way. You know, being a resident and seeing the different town boards come and go throughout the years, it always seems to circle back to everybody wants to keep the rural character here. And it's a challenge with, you know, I'm a struggling dairy farmer that, you know, we sold our dairy herd 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years in April, and trying to keep our land open with trying to work 2 full-time jobs and, you know, still trying to keep the land open for people. You know, we're still doing beef, but it's a challenge. And I know there's others in the town that are also facing those challenges and trying to come up with some solutions to help them continue to keep things going the way that, you know, the town wants to keep our rural character. And you know, John, I'm gonna say it. I have
Yeah.
concerns with EMS in the town, how we're gonna keep
Yeah.
EMS
Absolutely.
prevalent and going, and how we're going to keep the people protected out here in the town of Caroline. I mean, we have no police force. We have dwindling numbers in the 3 fire departments that we have here. We have no first response, medical first response. We're lucky if we get people to roll out of the fire department, but you know, it can be 20, 30, 40 minutes for banks to show up, you know, and that concerns me. And how are we going to keep the trails safe if we don't have, you know, patrols out there, you know, watching the trails and making sure that we don't have illegal activity going on out there and keeping people safe in the town of Caroline. So, and I think I can, you all know that I have that background and have that passion in my heart for that. And I think we can come up with some creative ways to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It might well be a moment when they're going to need to think about maybe even a new task force on emergency services, just to revisit the issue one more time.
Yeah.
That's another issue.
I mean, it's scary if you think about it. I mean, I love the idea of all the recreation stuff that we do here in the town. I mean, for years I've been out in Shandagan Hollow and up on Hammond Hill and having to take people out from up there because they've gotten injured or gotten sick, and we just don't, the youngsters, the up and coming adults just don't have the passion to volunteer and to do stuff with that. And I think we need to really look at how we can get people involved. And I think that goes back to what the comprehensive plan said, is trying to build that community feel again, and getting people to, you know, check in on your neighbors and go to the chicken barbecues and go to the community center. and really build those relationships, because I think that's where it all stems from. You know, once you know your neighbors, you're more willing to help out your neighbors. So, you know, I think it's great that they put that in the comprehensive plan. I was very glad to see that.
So maybe you just said it, but I'll just ask you the question I asked Catherine about, you know, what do you treasure most about Caroline?
It's home. I've been here for 31 years, raised 2 boys here, just built a new house, and planning to stay for the next 50 years, hopefully. No, not that long. I don't want to live that long. 20, maybe 30.
Go for it.
But, you know, the rural character, I love it here in Caroline. It's got such a wealth of abundant wildlife and natural resources that you don't get everywhere. And you know, our little niche out here with the Gutchess Land Preserve and the 2 creeks that merge out here, we have a otter out here, which I think is absolutely cool. We have a river otter that lives out there.
Wow.
And you know, it's seeing that stuff that you don't see every day. And you know, I tend to have a special eye for looking for the abnormal things that we don't see. You know, I drive to work every day, 15 miles into Ithaca, and I keep my eye open and see the changes, and, you know, the houses that are sitting empty that really should have families living in them, and maybe even doing multi-family dwellings instead of everybody having their own individual households. You know, we may have to go back to having multi-generations in a house just to keep things going. But I love Caroline. It's my home. And
Great.
that's kind of why I don't do EMS anywhere else. I tried doing it in Dryden, but it just didn't feel right. It wasn't home. I wanted to give back to my community, not somebody else's. So.
Great. Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay, I'll conclude the interviews there. And thanks so much to Kathy and Catherine for joining us. So,
thank you.
yeah. All right. There's a blue Zoom hand up.
So that was my fault. Sorry.
Oh, okay. You can raise your hand if you like. So it's
No, I didn't mean to. I was trying to turn it off. Technology is not my friend.
I don't think it's anybody's friend these days.
Do I do #6? Is that how I turn it off?
I
oh
honestly
yeah,
can't-
I think that's right. It's *6, I think. Anyway, we won't worry about it. So, okay, so those are our interviews, and I will ask the board if we're ready to cast a vote for the candidates. It's a difficult choice, I would say. So.
Do we want to have any discussion about it? Or just vote?
I want to make the board bigger by 2 council people effective next week.
Well, if we can expand the planning board.
We'll just add town board into the planning board law. So we'll have it. Yeah, if there's a discussion that anyone wants to offer, that's fine. I don't have anything that I really want to, you know, I guess I see 2 really strong candidates here. So.
So I guess, yeah, if your question is, do I want to vote? No, I don't. They're 2 strong candidates.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that all joking aside, I'm truly grateful for that.
So we could do, I guess, so we could vote now and see what happens, or, you know, we can think about it for a week and vote at the business meeting.
Well, I mean, I would prefer to vote now, and then if we have a need, then we can follow it up with more elaborate discussion next week.
That's fine with me.
I'm agreeable to that. I also hate to ask our candidates to hang tight for a week
Right.
if we
Yeah,
don't have to.
I agree with that. I agree. Okay,
Well,
so I will ask the board to, in the chat, to send their first choice to Velvet.
Can you remind us how to do that?
If you go down, if you choose your chat button at the bottom,
Right.
then you'll go over and find chat, and at the bottom it'll say to somebody. Select on that and then make sure you choose Velvet. Like, and
There we go. So just chat to Velvet. Got it.
yeah.
Mark, did you get my message?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, so we do have a decision. And so Catherine Goldberg Forrest will take Irene's seat. I do want to genuinely express the agony of this decision and thank Kathy Mix for putting herself forward. And I know she has so much to offer. So, but we've made a decision, and congratulations, Catherine. Okay, folks. We'll now move on to a discussion of the resolution to form.
Mark, can I just add a thanks to Kathy, and I think that one of the things that she brought back onto our table that I hope that we might be able to call upon her to help us with is to continue to think through this emergency services quandary. I know that the board, especially before I joined it 2 years ago, spent a lot of time on this, but it just seems like even if it's beating our heads against the wall, we got to keep thinking it through. And I've often thought that maybe we should try to reconvene a discussion with the 3 fire departments and people like Kathy who used to run the EMT, just to keep talking about it, because it's just such a problem. That's all.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea, Tim. And yeah, so I can circle back to Kathy on this, and yeah, I think that's a great idea. So okay. So now I would like to move on to consider the resolution to form a zoning commission. And that is included in the agenda, and the way that it's
Marcus, I'm sorry, but before we do this,
yeah.
can we just have clarification regarding Catherine's status now?
Okay.
Is she on the board right now? What happens?
Yeah. Thank you, Tim. That's
You need me to unvideo myself?
yes, we do, and that's of course that's my lapse. So
I
Catherine,
think she has to take her
Just
oath
take the
of office
oath.
first.
I know. I mean, I get hazed or something now.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
yes, so
there's an oath of office that Jesse would administer.
yeah, but that's within 30 days.
Right.
Yep. So
So-
welcome, Catherine, and we now have a full board. So
Yay.
great. So with that, I would suggest we move on to consider the zoning commission structure. And what I've proposed is to have the Department of State, recommends that either that the planning board be assigned this responsibility, which is an ephemeral responsibility. It's formed, it does its job, which is to come up with a scheme that's appropriate for the town to consider. And once it submits that to the town board, it goes out of existence. So one scenario is assigning this duty to the planning board. And the other scenario is to form it, de novo from volunteers or other members of the community. But at any rate, it does recommend that at least one member of the planning board be included in that group to provide continuity from someone who was involved in the construction of the comprehensive plan. So what I proposed after we had a discussion with the planning board, what I proposed is to have a zoning commission of 7 members, 3 of which would be from the planning board, and then 4 others from the community. The Department of State recommends 9 or fewer members, and when I spoke with Joan Jerkowicz from the county, she thought 7 would be about right for the town. So that's what I've carved out in the current resolution. And as far as process of filling that, we would put out a call for people interested in serving on commission. I think the expectation would be that it would be a fairly intense, moderately intense group that would meet at least twice a month to do the work. And we do expect to bring on a planner or a planning firm to help guide it and make sure we stay on track and help us with this process, which can be a little bit complex. So
should the zoning commission include a town board member or not?
it cannot, but I think we could have a town board member act as a liaison, just a communication, just like we do for the planning board and other committees. But a town board member cannot be a member of the
Of the zoning commission?
correct.
Yeah, they have really clear guidelines about setting this up so that it gets a clean start. And there were, I mean, when the task force researched a lot of this, Cal, and there actually were a couple of precedents of having town board members on zoning commissions when there was, for various reasons, legal pressure brought to bear that compromised, that ended up potentially compromising the zoning commission.
Mhm.
So we shouldn't do that. But it would be important to have a liaison.
So, and I will point out in relation to the comments that we received from Don Barber and Bruce Murray, that the Department of State document does also allude to, recommend having members from that created diversity, whether it's geographic diversity or vocational diversity on the board. So that's something that we would want to strive to do. At the same time, an important task, or the process is really important for the zoning commission, and so they are, as they're doing their work, a big part of their effort will be engaging the public and keeping the public, allowing for public feedback and input on the product, and so.
And just to add to that, the recommendation follows very, very much what the planning board did for the comprehensive plan, which is to have at least 2 public hearings or public discussion sessions, information sessions, idea sharing sessions. I think it could be very easily patterned on how the planning board put together the comprehensive plan. The one advantage that we have that I just might mention, one, this is coming directly off on the heels of the finished comprehensive plan. So a lot of that hearing has happened. Also, unlike other zoning commissions that start from scratch, we had the advantage of having had the input of this 4-month-long, really, really intense task force, which I think has laid, at least clarified some of the groundwork involved. So my hope is that that's going to facilitate getting things going out of the gate more than it might if we were just starting from scratch and doing the same research that the task force has already done. I hope that's helpful.
Who decides how the meetings are handled, if they have to be virtual or they can be in person? Whose decision is that? Is that the commission's, or?
So as far as my understanding is that the operation of the commission, they will be their own body, and they will determine their operation. I think as far as, the COVID related operation, my feeling is that would be, and we can clarify this, but that would be something that we would want to, I think the town board would want to have a say in that. But I think, absent of COVID, I think the zoning commission kind of is its own thing and develops its own process. But it will be important that they will have a planner to help them, and I think that they follow a rigorous process that as they do their work.
But I'd just like to add that I think it's really important that any town board or commission follow the leadership of the town board and state guidelines relating to public meetings and virtual meetings for the time being until the governor tells us to do it otherwise.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think to do otherwise would create a liability for the town.
Great. I agree as well. So,
Catherine.
can I ask a question now? I'm
Yeah.
so new. I don't know if I'm allowed, but
Kathy?
I just to
Yeah.
clarify, like, Cal, are you getting at like issues of accessibility and equity in terms of like who would have access to this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you for putting words to it.
because I mean, I would say that while I of course agree that, you know, there's state, like public health guidelines need to be followed, I wonder if we could really have that in mind and be creative about, you know, utilizing, if people don't have internet access, which we know because we live in Caroline, people don't, you know, can we use town spaces that do have internet access in some way, or be creative in some way, or have town members volunteer their hotspot or something to increase accessibility?
Great idea.
I think that's a good idea. I'm not, and yeah, I'd be totally on board with that. I just the exact how is not quite clear to me. But yeah, I'd be totally on board. We could have you know, everybody parked in the town hall parking lot using the town hall Wi-Fi or something. So, which would work.
Right. I mean, even just an announcement that like, don't let internet connectivity be a barrier. Like, we will
Yeah.
figure it out. Yeah.
Good, like that. Any other thoughts or questions, or especially as regards the, does this sound like a reasonable plan for the structure of the commission?
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
We better get going on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll put that on the agenda for adoption at next week's business meeting. And so with that, I will now offer a motion for the adoption of the COVID-19 town policy that I put forward.
I'll second it.
Great, thank you, John. And this started with some information we received in December from Jesse, and so we and so I you know, this is draft. I followed or it started. I can use the town of Dryden's policy and modified that. One thing that I was thinking of adding is let's see, it's as for the allowance of I think it's 4 hours of work time to conduct to you know, do a COVID test. If an employee needs to do that, they can do that on.
Mark, do we also have vaccinations included in that? Did we think to include vaccinations in addition to test, which I think would be fair and a good idea?
Mm-hmm. I'm fumbling around here looking for it. Hang on a second.
Maybe a friendly amendment or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's the resolution, the policy doesn't have anything specifically related to vaccinations.
What were you thinking with that, Tim?
Yeah.
I was just thinking if we're allotting 4 hours of work time for testing, that we can do the same thing for vaccination, that's all.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I can't imagine when our employees become eligible that we wouldn't want to support them in getting their vaccination.
Okay. I thought you were thinking of something more complicated. So I
No,
think
no.
Okay.
No, I just thought we should
Okay.
allow them, and pay for them to go get their vaccination on work
Great.
time.
I think that's great. We should add that in. So great. So we'll add in a sentence at the end of the employee benefits section to that, just to say that employees are entitled to 4 hours of work time to obtain a test or to get a vaccination.
And a test and vaccination.
And okay. Yeah.
And.
Yeah. They might not do both at the same time though. So,
Right.
yeah. So, okay, great. Any other thoughts or modifications? No. Okay. So with that, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great. Adopted and unanimously. Thank you.
Catherine just took her first vote.
I
Yeah.
said aye.
Yay. Mark, thanks for your work on this too.
Yeah, it's great.
Sure. You're welcome. Yeah. All right. So with that, I will open it up for reports from committee reports from town board members. John, go ahead.
Okay, sure. First thing I'm happy to report is that the RFQ for getting engineering consulting services for moving forward with the town highway building project has ended as of Sunday, and we had 6 firms submit proposals, which is very, very exciting. So the next step will be that we'll be meeting to begin a process of reviewing those proposals, likely perhaps developing some finalists to interview, and then making a recommendation to the town board in March as to who we think we should move forward with. So it's very exciting to be at this stage of the process. There were a lot of good conversations along the way from the different firms to get to this point. And so thank you also to Velvet and Jesse for just sort of fielding questions and taking packets and all that and providing that support. Other thing.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes, of course.
I'm sorry that I apparently didn't get a chance to see the call for the RFQ. And I'm just wondering what you did in relationship to initially, way back when you were talking about asking firms to consider 3 sites, et cetera, et cetera. Is the horse farm no longer even there? Did you change that, or what?
We did, yeah. So the RFQ was updated to reflect that we would be asking the firm to, 1, evaluate the 2 properties that the town already has in its possession, and also to take a look and see if there are any other areas in the town that we might want to consider looking at based on availability. Yeah, so we modified it a little bit.
Thanks.
Sure. Other thing I'll tell you about the process is we researched within our region what were the firms, of course, one in our local community, but then also in different hubs in the region. And ultimately it went out, I believe, to 29 different firms to try and solicit as much response and as diverse a response as we could. So I am happy to get, let's say that's about now I'm not doing math on the spot. I think Catherine, help me out here. I can see you're calculating it. And I think we're probably just under 20% response, somewhere in that neighborhood.
So John, so this was a request for the company's
qualifications,
right?
Right.
Okay, so they're not like sending project dollar amounts or something like that. They're just saying this is the kind of stuff we do or could do for you.
We probably I haven't opened them yet because we haven't. So we asked them to address different phases of the project and their expertise with that. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Great. Thank you. Exciting.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So then the other report comes from the Joint Youth Commission, and the JYC is involved in the moment of doing a little bit of self-assessment of their board operations. Nothing amiss, just feeling that, hey, this is a great time to do some internal reflection and look at our practices and making sure that they reflect best board practices, that they're inclusive and things like that. So the board members and the town liaisons have been kind of going through a comprehensive survey and providing feedback that the JYC will then use to sort of benchmark. And so that's, I think that's a wonderful board practice and exciting. There's good energy on the board. It seems to have activated at a higher level. I also don't know if folks know that there is a new fundee from the JYC, which is YEM, which is a youth entrepreneurial market. And so it encourages youth to innovate and come up with things. It's sort of based on the concept of a lemonade stand, except it's encouraging youth to think deeper and where their talents and where their interests and how might they activate that in an entrepreneurial way. So it's a really cool growth-oriented organization, and I think everybody was really excited to add them to the fundees. Final thing, our two town representatives to the board, Karen Scott and Nancy Kane, would like some time in our March board meeting to just do a brief presentation on what's going on with JYC and just kind of keep the board up to date.
Awesome. That'd be awesome.
Cool. And that's my report.
Thanks, John. So yeah, maybe you can, maybe there's some stuff you can bring back to us on this sort of best practices for boards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't all directly translate to a town government, but some of it might. I would be happy to do that.
Great.
I guess I'll just report briefly that the planning board has been meeting and is working incredibly hard on the solar siding law, which is coming together quite rapidly, right, Catherine? And so it looks like that will be happening as imminently as it can within the next maybe month or so or something.
Yep.
Does that sound about right, Catherine?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing the work that's gone in, and really particularly the new board members are like really on it. So.
And I think it shows what can happen when we have active citizens really dedicated to making something happen, that it doesn't have to take 2 years. But I'm now thinking even of the zoning commission, that things are complicated, but with the right people steering the ship, and we have really talented people in the town. It's hopeful.
There's a lot of work in between meetings that's going on.
Yeah.
Really, like every week. Yeah.
A lot of emails.
And you know that we have a substantially sized solar project being proposed for the town that's asked for a waiver.
That's not, Cal, that's actually not the prerogative of the planning board. So it's not considering the plan in relationship to any individual project, just so we keep this in mind. I mean, what the town is doing is developing a law that's sufficient for everything that would occur and be developed. So just so we keep it in mind that we're not planning for a particular commercial project.
No, but
you see what I'm saying?
I mean, I guess maybe I'm a little fuzzy on it because I'm hearing solar siting.
Right.
And
Which has been something that the planning board has had on its table for over a year, but couldn't get to yet because it had to finish the comprehensive plan. And then the minute that it passed, it jumped on this. And of course it dovetails with the possibility of certain projects maybe arising in the town, but that's not being designed in response to any particular potential.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't think that was, but just that the guidelines that we want for solar siting can be.
And I think the point that you're making is that it's helpful that the planning board is working very rapidly on this.
Great. I heard some kind of a dog or something barking. I don't know what that was, but
I think Bruce Murray's not muted, I think.
Yeah, no, it's no dog here.
was it your stomach? No, I don't know. So I don't hear it now, whatever it was.
Bruce, it might be helpful if you muted when you're not speaking. There's less feedback.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. So, great. Okay. Any other council member reports to offer?
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, it might be helpful just to say that, for me to say that Mark and I had our quarterly meeting with our new code officer. And it went incredibly well. This is like working out so far really well. And he will be giving us regular reports of the permits that have been requested and they're making. And he's already taken care of some tricky situations in the town. Has worked with Bobby in relationship to coordinating with Highway. Went really well, right, Mark?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we had a nice meeting. So yeah, he did his first training a couple weeks ago, and so yeah.
So that's all I have to report.
Yeah, that's a good report, Tim. Thanks. Okay.
I don't know where we were going to put it in. Were we going to talk about the library?
We certainly can do that. Maybe this would be a fine time if we want to add it in. So I did. So Gail wrote to us.
There was a fine note.
It was a fine note.
Sorry, I didn't see it.
There was one email, and then there's one that showed up in my mailbox. Maybe it showed up in my email, but I don't remember seeing it. Anyway, she was just saying, the point she was making is a lot of people do rely on the library for for media, for books or DVDs or whatever. Most people that use the library use it very briefly. So they come in and they get what they want or return books, and then they leave. So usually it's 15 minutes or less. They have very good safety measures. They have the most formidable barrier around the librarian's desks that I've ever seen. And they have a log, people sign into the log, they have sanitation materials there. And so people are very careful. They all must wear a mask and maintain 6-foot distancing. There's rarely, I don't think there's ever a crowd in there. So she said the volunteers are willing to serve whatever limited hours we might have. Their normal hours are, an hour and a half or 2 hours in the evenings, some weekend hours. And she also connected me with the Tompkins County Library, a librarian there who sort of informed me or offered to speak to us if we wanted about the measures they're taking at the Tompkins County Library. And so they have safety measures in place, but they are allowing people to browse briefly. They have a time limit. I think it's a half an hour. And so, I have been watching the daily new cases, and You know, they're doing okay, in my opinion. You know, it's something that we want to watch, but I feel that, you know, I think I would feel okay about allowing it to open, given the safety measures and with a time limit. And so I'm just throwing that out there to see what people think. I understand the conservatism on this is super responsible. And even Gail has acknowledged, you know, we certainly don't want anyone to get sick. So, but I think, I guess I think it can be done responsibly. So I'll just leave it at that and open it up for
Mark,
other-
maybe we can just explain to Catherine quickly to bring her up to speed
Sure.
that because of the COVID spike, we closed the reading room. When was it? Was it in December?
I think so.
Yeah,
The beginning of December.
It's been a couple months now. Yeah.
And it had been closed through the spring until when? Middle of the summer or something? I don't remember.
Something like that. I mean, it reopened when we had the reopening. So, so we, you know,
I mean, just for a little more history, we closed it for December, and then we decided that we should keep it closed for January also, and that we would revisit and get back to them about February.
Mhm.
That's my recollection of things.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah,
Correct.
we said we would reevaluate on a monthly basis, either way, really. So.
I have to say, I found the report really, really helpful and detailed in a way that sort of sways me a little bit toward reopening. I think the precautions are pretty comprehensive, and I kind of want to see that barrier that they built. But you know, I think it seems very well thought out, and
Yep.
so I think that's important, and I think a good case was also made for what it means to our community and particularly some of our community members in particular.
Yep.
The only thing that always concerns me with anything like this is liability, and so the only thing I would say is to perhaps, if we haven't, check in with Guy is our town attorney, Catherine, just to make sure that there are no concerns on that end in terms of, because we're working with a volunteer base that are assuming risk, theoretically at least, by volunteering. And I would just want to make sure that they are protected in any way that would be appropriate, you know, for that. Yeah.
And this also might be where the county librarian can be helpful, because they must have considered this.
Right. True.
So
Only they have paid staff, so there's probably a little bit of a difference.
that's true.
Yeah. I don't know if
Or check with-
I was gonna say, I don't know what their volunteer force is. I imagine they probably have some, but I don't know to what level at this point.
Or check with our insurance agent
Yeah, I was
versus
thinking.
our attorney.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
sorry,
that
I was just going to say that I'm sorry that I never saw her letter. So can you guys can clarify for me, what are the
Tim, I
time-
sent it to you. It should be the top of your mail list if you got a time to pull it.
I'd have to open that up, but what is their time limit in terms of visitor use? And do they have limits on how many visitors can be in the room at a time?
I don't think I'd have to check on the visitors in the room at the time. I mean, they do require 6-foot distancing. So in that sense, they do have a limit. And when I have observed, I have seen someone, you know, waiting in the atrium to enter until it was clear.
And are they requiring masking to be in the
Yeah.
space?
Yes, masking is required at all times. They don't have an explicit time limit, but I think that's something we could ask for.
I mean, I would recommend 15 minutes given guidelines. You know, it's still such a tiny space. And I think that if we do open, we need to keep it on the guidelines to revisit
Sure.
based on COVID cases. I mean, it is going down right now, but that's only been for a week and it could just as easily spike up again.
Yeah.
Especially with the increase in outside people pouring into town this week.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? I guess what I mean, are we ready tonight to make these recommendations and sort of, let the reading room know that with those provisions, we're comfortable with reopening?
I would still like to, I think I still would want to just double check on some of the liability stuff and
That
make
sounds
sure
good.
that we're in good standing there.
Okay, I think that's wise. So let's consider it at next week's meeting. And can I invite, what do you think about inviting, she offered to come. So I could invite the librarian from Tompkins County to see if she wants to join us for our Zoom.
Speaking for myself, I would be more interested in hearing from just a quick take from Guy.
Okay, you're not that
Minute.
concerned about that. Okay.
No,
If we were
I
gonna
think
hear
Catherine has a
people, I'd-
question though, Mark.
Well, I just had a I mean, again, sorry, forgive me, new curiosity, very curious about, does this need to be a contact? Is there a contactless version of opening the reading room? Like what is the actual person-to-person interaction? And can that be modified so that everybody gets what they want?
You're talking about so that whatever happens is there's no physical contact?
Well, I just don't know how the reading room works, to be honest. Like, is it a loaning, like, and I don't care about physical, it's airspace, right? So
It's a physical, yeah, it's a loaning library. So, people come in and check out books.
and
Mostly,
there's a physical process for checking that out, or can someone sign out a book and leave?
I think what they usually do is check it out with the librarian. So, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be
That's a good
adverse next week to having Gail come in and just chat with us about this.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I think that could be helpful, and,
Yeah.
and that
Okay.
way we can all just talk about it
Yeah,
and
yeah.
be on the same wavelength.
Agree. Just to learn more about what the actual,
And,
Good.
for us to be able to express our concerns about her.
No, I think that'd be great. Both of those are good points. Maybe we can think of ways to, the checkout check-in is definitely contactless. They can just drop it in the book bin. And, I think, yeah, so. I think right now checkout is virtually contactless. And so I think what we're worried about is, just having people in the room at the same time, at least in my mind.
right. I mean, I agree, which I'm saying, if the actual interface doesn't require someone sitting in a room, then can the thing happen without someone sitting in the room? Maybe not, I don't know.
Yeah, probably not, just because someone has to be there to it's an office, basically. It's a room. So but I see what you say, and they wouldn't necessarily have to be in the room, so they could open it up and then people could take care of it themselves, right? That's what you're
Or you
saying.
open, you let someone in, the person who's the volunteer is not in the room at the same time as the custom, person, checker outer person. There might be a brief, I don't know what the system is, they sign the thing.
Yeah,
There's some way to, I don't think we need to stop the library activity for lack of creativity. It doesn't sound like.
good. Okay. It's on the agenda for next week. We'll invite Gail. That's great. Thank you.
Besides, I don't think she's ever come and for us to express our appreciation as a board of what she does.
Yeah. So it'll be nice to have her with us. So great. Okay. I lost my place because let's see. So we did okay. So now I will offer the very exciting final 2020 budget transfers.
I know, Catherine, this is really why you threw your hat in the ring.
This is the moment I've been waiting for.
I knew it. I knew it.
Just wait.
Oh my gosh, I'm fumbling around like crazy. There it is. Hang on a sec. Okay. So I will offer the following 2020 final budget transfers. $274.26 from A1620.12 maintenance to A1620.1 cleaning. $483.94 from A1990.4 contingency to A1910.4 insurance. $3.21 from A5132.2 garage equipment to A5132.4 garage contractual. $16,623.72 from DA 5130.1 machinery personal services to DA 5110.1 general repairs personnel services, and then $82.13 from DA 5130.1 machinery personal services to DA 5110.11 general repairs overtime. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tim. Discussion? So I just say, this is just our bookkeeping process of shifting balances around at the end of the year to make sure every account line is in the positive. So that's what that is. So with no further questions, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Great, thank you. Offer a resolution to approve the minutes of January 13th.
I'll second.
Seconded by John. Discussion or feedback?
I had one correction that I sent to Jesse, and it was just about the end date of the RFQ. In my report, it should read end of January as opposed to end of March. But otherwise, they look great.
Okay, and you sent that to her already?
I did.
So it should say end of January.
January, right.
Okay, I'll make sure that's in there. Anything else? Great. Yeah, I already submitted some formatting things which are non-substantive. So I think everybody got those already. So with no further ado, I'll call for approval. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Great, thank you. And now agenda items for next week. We already loaded one. We'll have Gail come join us for a library discussion.
Task force resolution or the zoning commission resolution, right?
Yes, we want the zoning commission resolution. And we will, I'm thinking about the planning board local law and revising that language to just simply say that terms shall be 5-year terms and without the complication of sequential, sequential year staggered terms. And I don't. The reason I don't want to do that is because, like Bruce said, if you have 7 members, it's going to lead to 7-year terms, and that's going to be ugly. So I will find out whether that's considered a substantive change or not, and then we'll proceed accordingly. So, okay, great.
There's a procedure now we have 2 additional positions on the planning board, right?
We do. And I'm glad you brought that up. So anybody listening, Catherine Goldberg Forrest just lost her seat on the planning board. So
It was
there are,
kicked
instead,
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
instead of 1 vacancy, there are 2 vacancies on the planning board. So if anybody's interested, they should submit honestly, instead of, you can use the volunteer application form on the contact part of the website, or you can just shoot an email of interest to the town clerk. And we are interested in filling those seats. So thank you for mentioning that.
Sure. I'm just unfamiliar with the process. Do we proactively send like a recruitment email enticing people to apply?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
So, yeah, well, Velvet will send out a town announcement. That's what we usually do, send a town announcement. And maybe next month I'll put something in the Old Mill about it as well. So, but yeah, and people feel free to nudge people who might be interested or let people know. So.
Right. And maybe to Cal's point, I would advocate, I guess, from an access perspective, to add a line in that announcement that, to not let internet, well, I guess they're receiving it by email. So I don't know what connectivity people have or don't have. So that's ironic. But that, like, does it go in the Old Mill also, though?
It can.
Yeah, Ken.
No, that like, don't let internet connectivity be an issue. Like if we have a planning board applicant who wants to be in the town hall or in the parking lot or something, I mean.
Yeah.
We should, I think, encourage.
Yeah, we can note that there is internet access at the town hall, something like that.
We could always send them down to meet with Dan Klein and the county board of reps.
Exactly.
Or they can park outside of Brookton's Market, which also has free
Oh,
Wi-Fi.
it does? You can get in your car?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Huh.
I've done a lot of work at Brookton's Market.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, so town announcement. So the next meeting, we will do our annual tradition of reviewing and voting on the Association of Towns legislative agenda. So I sent that to everybody. I'll send that to you too, Catherine. So the Association of Towns, they put out resolutions for their annual for the 2021 this year legislative agenda, and then we vote on it as a town board, and then normally, and we have a delegate and an alternate assigned to usually go to the meeting in New York City. And then at the business meeting, we vote, there's a vote on the resolutions. And so we vote on that. So.
Hey, Mark, what's the procedure for attending the virtual meeting? I think it's next week, right? It's soon. How do we register for that?
Oh, for the Association of Towns?
Yeah.
I just did it yesterday. And so registration is open, I think, until the 12th. I'll forward you. You can just go to the Association of Towns website, and there's a little link there to register. You need to register.
Is there payment? Is there a fee or something?
There's a fee, and the way I did it, I used the town credit card. I think you can also have them invoice you, but if you want to use the town credit card, I can provide you that information.
Okay.
So. Great. So I'm glad this came up because I think, so it's $100 per person to register. So this year there's going to be no travel expenses or anything. So I think if you have the interest, you can look at the schedule of training sessions to see if there are things that grab your interest. And then, I wouldn't hesitate to sign up. And it's a virtual meeting. But the registration, they send you an app or something that allows you to attend breakout rooms. So they're kind of trying to mimic like a real meeting. So I've never done it, but.
Would you mind recirculating that, Mark, just to make sure that Catherine sees it?
Absolutely.
I'm on the website right now.
And Catherine, you'll get a town email address and stuff like that too.
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, I'm on the registration.
Great.
Okay.
Let's see. So couple of other things. So I'll be looking for approval for the 2021 Workers' Comp Cooperative Agreement with Slaterville and Brooktondale Fire Districts. Resolutions of completions of the annual audits for the court and my office and the clerk. I'll be offering resolutions for renewing terms on the planning board and the review board for one member of the review board. Cal mentioned earlier, we have received substantial materials that are, it's an application for a waiver for a solar project in the town. So I would hope that, or I expect by that meeting to have all the materials we need, and we can schedule the public hearing for that waiver request. So I expect to do that next meeting. And then the zoning commission resolution, I think we mentioned that. So that's all I can think of right now. That's what I've got on my list. Anything else?
Not that I can think of.
So,
Mark, can you also refresh on the size of the solar project? There's been some, as I've read it, there's been some confusion on the size of it and where the state takes control over certain sizes, as I remember, is 20 megawatts. And the last waiver I read, the size of this one was 22 megawatts.
That's right.
And
But
just how much say so we,
my understanding is this is under town jurisdiction because it's a community solar project.
okay,
It feeds into local distribution lines. So that's my understanding. So
it feeds into distribution lines,
not
transmission
long,
lines.
instead of long range transmission lines, right?
Okay,
If it'll go to a local substation on Middaugh Road. So. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question, Cal?
yep, yeah. It
Okay.
just the classification of the project and so we have a certain amount of review of the project. Then it's not like the state is going to say, no, this is all under our jurisdiction.
I don't think so. No.
Okay,
and then some of that will also dovetail with progress being made, I assume, by the planning board on the site, on the siting law, the solar siting law, which could precede this, right?
It could. I don't know. Yeah.
Is that application already in to the
No.
review board? No.
Yes,
they-
yes. So to us.
Oh.
So maybe you can explain this process to Catherine, Mark.
Okay, so what they've submitted is an application for a waiver from the moratorium.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah, so that's they're simply, and then after they receive the waiver, then they would provide us whether the same materials or not, but then they would need to provide us the materials for their project, the application for their project. So
Directly to the board because it's a waiver, or it goes to the review board like a regular project once they have the waiver.
that one, I believe, currently it would go to the review board because it would fall under site plan review.
And-
But first we decide whether the waiver would be given or not,
Granted, okay.
right?
And what's the timing on the revisions to the design now standards or proposed to be standards versus guidelines for the review board from the task force? Was
Oh,
that-
that's different. So that's,
That's separate, yeah.
No,
so
it's separate, but did that ever, refresh my memory of the timing, did that actually get adopted yet or no?
no. So,
Okay.
so the thinking around that so far for us, Catherine, is that we wanted to jumpstart the zoning commission first
Okay,
in case the site plan law could be wrapped into zoning conceivably.
gotcha.
But I think, I mean, I agree with Don's suggestion, and this is something we've talked around, that after we get all of this stuff settled and probably deal with this moratorium waiver, then it would be the time to look at the suggested revisions. I mean, they're really extensive and they were very heavily researched. So I can't see doing yet another commission to look at what the task force looked at, but
Right.
we'd certainly want to review them and have a public hearing and vet them and stuff like that.
Zoning would
You broke up.
Yeah, somebody's breaking up. It might be me, I don't know, so.
Catherine, did you break up?
Ooh, uh-oh, am I there?
You're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, you froze, but you're unfrozen now.
I'm getting messages that my internet connection is unstable. I'm sorry, I don't know what you heard, so I'll just repeat that. I guess absent, zoning, if the design standards were already adopted and enhanced, to Cal's point, that would give more teeth to review of this, of a project that came in prior to zoning, right?
Yes.
Oh, I suppose so.
I'm saying timing wise, like zoning is not gonna, the zoning commission is a longer process than potentially saying we're gonna adopt the recommendations of the task force for the design standards.
Well, at the time when the task force delivered it, I mean, there was some hope that we could do this even a little bit quicker than we have in terms of getting the zoning commission up.
Gotcha.
So it was just understood to be a series of steps, but it clearly is looking likely that we'll want to address this and decide whether we're going to revise the site plan law.
Right,
before
right.
that.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because
As
if
a
the
stopgap.
applicant gets a waiver, then they're gonna go to the review board, and then what's waiting at the review board?
But from my understanding, the solar field does not fall within that's why we're doing a solar siting law, because that's different from the site plan law. You see what I'm
If they
saying?
disturb more than an acre, doesn't it still fall under site plan
Yeah.
review?
So currently it would only, yeah, so we're speaking downstream and upstream. So currently it would fall under site plan review. But I kind of want to emphasize that, the work of the task force was tremendous. But I think, they were researching
Right.
tools that we could use. And they came up with an example, basically, based on the input they received and the hard work they did. But that has yet to have gone through the process that it would need to go through at the town board level
Mhm.
for deliberation and feedback. I don't think it's just, ready for prime time or anything like that. So
Gotcha, understood, yeah.
great. All right. Anything else?
I move that we adjourn.
Yes, and I do want to again extend my gratitude to Catherine for joining us and to Kathy for putting herself out
Here, here.
for the good conversations tonight. And welcome to the town board, Catherine.
Vouchers next week, guys. So this is my and somebody else's rotation. And Catherine has no idea what I'm talking about.
Technically,
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'll do it.
technically it would be you and Catherine, but if you
Right.
don't want to jump in this cycle, I can jump in.
I mean,
Is it
involved, I'm sure I can do it.
so this is reviewing the very exciting business of reviewing town bills, and they're called vouchers. And so for every meeting, we go through the town bills, and three of us, two town board members and the supervisor, review each town bill, sign off on it, and you check to see that the documentation is there, that there's no sales tax. So it's just about good process for making sure monies are spent appropriately.
Okay.
That the amount on the voucher matches the amount on the bill, basically.
And
So, I
usually
mean, maybe if you wanted to, at least walk Catherine through it a little bit somehow. I mean, I will do it, but as in the past, I hope you can understand that I only want to do it when the building is closed and when I'm alone in the building,
right.
which I will do.
I'd be happy to walk you through it, Catherine, if we could use distancing measures and.
Oh, this is an in-person situation.
Yeah.
I'm glad for this.
Yeah, you got to sign it.
Gotcha. I get my second vaccine on Friday. So
Oh, wow.
That's
put
fast.
me in for the next cycle.
Wow. Great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So maybe John, you can just do it. Would you mind doing it this month?
I would not mind.
Okay.
Great.
And we'll catch up with you, Catherine. Don't you worry about a thing.
Ready for the bills.
Great. Okay. Well, with no further ado,
Oh, I see Bruce. Are you waving?
Yeah, I just wonder if I could ask a question, Mark?
sure.
Is there a copy of the task force report at the town hall or no? A copy that we could.
I'm pretty sure, I mean, we can generate one. I think Jessie may have some stacked up in her office.
Okay, because I know somebody that wants to see it that doesn't have access.
Sure.
Just like, okay, thank you. That's all I need. That's all. I
Yeah.
wanted.
Shoot a heads up though, Bruce, and we'll print it out before you come or whatever, or whoever needs one.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Anything else, folks? Great. Well, I hope everybody enjoys the snow tomorrow.
Let's go shovel.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll call for adjournment. Thanks, everybody, and have a good night. Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Welcome.